Dr. Westman, thank you so much for your time this evening. Now, South Africa was famously the first country to enshrine gay rights in its constitution. But the shine has long since come off that achievement, hasn't it? You say that the rights for the LGBTQI communities are secured vertically through the constitution, but not horizontally. What do you mean by that statement?
So, thanks for having me on this evening. What I mean by that is that the Constitution and various other legal instruments in South Africa enshrine the rights of LGBTQI plus individuals, but in their everyday lived experiences, these rights and protections are not afforded to these communities, and they experience inordinate levels of violence and discrimination within their everyday lives, within their communities, and also from public sector services such as healthcare services, in schools, and from the police services. So while the Constitution is laudable and it definitely is one of the best constitutions in the world and ahead of many other constitutions that still criminalize homosexuality, those rights and measures in the Constitution don't translate into the practical lived experiences of many LGBTQI people in South Africa.
Let's talk about some of those lived experiences, those so-called small discriminations of day-to-day life of those LGBTQI individuals. I mean, you point to misgendering, the attitudes of nurses. You talk about transgender individuals, their experiences, meaning that they face a greater risk of mental health. Or we've got members of these communities that then just avoid seeking help in any way, shape or form. Tell me some of the experiences that you've heard of that they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, especially in the health department.
Yeah, so it's, as you mentioned, there are a lot of these forms of discrimination and secondary victimization that LGBTQI individuals experience. So particularly in the healthcare sector, many LGBTQI individuals will be hesitant to go for healthcare services because of the way that they are treated by people in the healthcare sector. And obviously that's not to say everyone in the healthcare sector, but from experiences that have been reported, people will be misgendered. They will not get the necessary services that they need because they will be sent away, or they won't have their concerns taken seriously by nurses or by doctors. People, if it's, for example, a lesbian woman, she might be told that she's a man, and so she can't get that necessary health care that she needs. And we know that LGBTQI people are often already in vulnerable positions, socioeconomic positions, and based on our historical context. And so not having access to those healthcare services places them in an even more vulnerable position. And as you also mentioned, they won't go to the police because of the same kinds of discrimination and victimization that they receive. They'll be told things like, lesbian women might have been told things like, you're a man, you can't be raped, just go home, or they'll just be laughed at, or their cases will not be taken seriously, will not be recorded. So there's many instances of these experiences that have been expressed by people in LGBTQI communities around South Africa.
Has the health department been made aware of these experiences? Are we seeing that there's an acknowledgement of a need for more education and awareness around how patients from the LGBTQI community are being treated? What are we hearing from the department itself?
Well, I know I can't speak directly about the department itself, but I know that the government itself is working on trying to address issues such as these in the public sector that LGBTQI individuals experience. They're setting up, they have a national task team specifically to do with LGBTQI issues. They also have a revised national, the name slips out of my mind, the NSI, which is to work specifically on LGBTQI issues and issues around hate crimes and discrimination for the LGBTQI community. So that's a very important step because currently LGBTQI violence or discrimination is prosecuted under general crimes such as assault, grievous bodily harm, those kinds of crimes. But the issues that LGBTQI individuals experience are not necessarily focused on as such. And so things like the hate crime bill that have been passed and will hopefully come into law soon are the kinds of things that the state is doing in order to try to address LGBTQI issues themselves more specifically, rather than just looking at them as a broad problem of discrimination and violence more generally.
But again, coming back to your opening point about how this all sounds and looks good on paper, but in reality, what is the experience of these members? Very important part of our community. Are we finding that they feel safe and secure enough to lean on our justice system? Because the justice system lays it out there in black and white that they do have the right to be protected. It is a human right for them. Not enough being done to make them aware that they are allowed to go seek help. But of course, what they're experiencing when they go to a police station, like you said earlier, just doesn't cut through.
Yes, and that's why one of our basic human rights in South Africa that's enshrined in our constitution is the right to protection and the right to legal recourse. But when LGBTQI individuals are victimized and discriminated against, and often even violated and harmed by the very first people in that criminal justice system, the police, they're not going forward to report crimes, they're not going forward to look for assistance. One way that the one sort of sector that is doing wonderful work are the various organizations, LGBT organizations and NGOs that assist LGBTQI individuals to seek recourse from the justice system, to seek sort of justice for any crimes or harms that have been done to them. But of course, the justice system is only effective if the people who are working in it are also, effective and are taking people's concerns seriously, which in this point in time is not necessarily the case.
Okay, indeed. Thank you so much for your time this evening and your insights. That's postdoctoral researcher at the Free State Centre for Human Rights at the University of the Free State, Dr. Claire Westman, joining us there live.